Men of Courage, in partnership with the Lorain County Community Action Agency, has been tasked to design, implement, and then facilitate a summer youth vocational series in which we are introducing youth 8th grade through 1 year out of high school to various career fields. We've already introduced them and had several guest speakers. We've had a few attorneys come in to talk, a police officer, a fireman. We've taken them on some tours. We took them to Lorain City Hall to meet the mayor and his staff. We've taken them out to Mercy Hospital and had a conversation with the doctor, and where he talked about being a career in medicine. We've taken them to a live courtroom on the adult side in which the judge allowed them to view actual court cases. And once again, they really loved that one because they had a lot of questions. They were also taken to a number of college tours: Oberlin College, Tri-C, Cleveland State, Baldwin Wallace, Lorain Community College. So, and we've also introduced them to some guys who own restaurants. So we'll talk about entrepreneurship and trying to give them a variety of different career fields and allow them to say, open your mind to start thinking about what you want to do after high school. And another piece we want to put in there is the armed forces: Air Force, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard. So we're really trying to open these kids' mind up this summer and get them to think about what will it take and what do I need to do to achieve my career goals and get into the field of my choice. Part of that is resume writing, interviewing skills, and dressing for interviews appropriately. So far, the kids love it, and we hope to do this year after year. Thank you to Lorain County Community Action Agency.
Never in my years have I thought someone would call and ask if I wanted to speak to a class.
Yeah.
And I said yes, because Lord knows I'm not good at this. I'm not good at speaking to a class as good as I am at one-on-one speaking. But I told her yes because I know what it's like to be in that position that you guys are in, where you're about to hit this adulthood, and there's a lot of consequences. And I wanted to tell you guys, be smart about going into adulthood, because there's no one out there that's going to help you once you're out there on your own. You're on your own, and that was a hard lesson for me to learn. I didn't have my parents' help, I didn't have my brother's help, I didn't have my grandparents I could rely on. It was just me making my own decisions and living with the consequences of those decisions. And it took me a while to learn, and a lot of bad consequences that I need to start looking forward beyond the initial decision.
I was working job to job around here. I worked at where Myers is now. It used to be a Walmart, or Kmart, I should say. So I worked at Kmart. I worked some odds and end jobs, but they were going nowhere, so I took off out of Lorain. I figured, let me get out of Lorain. This isn't really, there's a dead end, everything's dead end around here, nothing going on. So I took off. I got 2 little kids. I'm like, man, this isn't really, there's no future here. So at that time, I decided to take the police test. So I ended up taking the police test. First go around, I took the test. I'm like, oh man, I'm at good. I don't remember where I was, maybe number 10 on the list or something. I'm like, okay, I'm set up here good. I'm probably gonna get a job. They already know me. I already work for the city. I work for the department. So I was like, all right, we'll get a job. Well, I didn't end up getting a job. I'm like, they passed me over for whatever reason. I was like, okay. They didn't really have a reason because they couldn't tell me what it was, but that's a little demoralizing. So I'm like, okay, now what do I do? Now I'm still working at the city jail. It's doing my thing, I'm working, trying to get as much overtime as possible to make some more money, but it still wasn't going. I was like, man, this is still going nowhere. It leads nowhere. At this time, I'm like almost 30 years old, probably 29 years old at this time. So now I'm like, man, what do I do? Do I take this test again? So think about what you want to do while you're in high school, because it goes by quick.
Afraid.
How about you? You got anything to add? Nothing? Jackson, what about you?
Changed it from being a police officer to being an engineer.
Okay, another great job. Engineering, that's a good job.
Growing up with kids, if my kids were sick, you didn't know it because I would just tell you I already have appointments that day. I went on vacation last week to Texas for 4 days. My clients never knew I was out of town because I had my phone, my laptop, and could do my job and everything but show a house. If I needed to show, I'll contact another agent and say, hey, can you show this? I'm out of town. I have to report if I see child abuse. I have to report if I see elderly abuse. I I have to report if I see human trafficking. I have to make sure every information I put in that contract is followed, because if something bad happens, they're suing me in the real estate company. I don't wanna get sued, I work too hard for my money, I wanna keep it.
Like you own some land, like you ever build a house and like sell it?
I bought 23 acres next door to my house because I didn't want anybody on top of me, and I kept 5 and sold the rest. I've bought 3 or 4 houses and fixed them up and resold them. I keep wanting to be a landlord, my husband won't, but I think I'm just gonna ignore him and do it with my kid.
It helped me with leadership and like setting a goal for my future. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know if I was gonna actually do it, because my plan was to do interior designer, but I knew I couldn't do that as soon as I got out of high school. So I need to set like a goal that I could actually do when I actually get out of college.
Do you do colorful colors or like darker colors?
So that's a good question. It depends on the collection and what I'm inspired by. So, the recent collection inspired by Dubai, I didn't want to use too many dark colors. I mean, we go hours and hours over all these designs. There's so many designs that get cut. So when we go through colors, I wanted to start with somebody being on the beach with our bright beiges and blues, and then we go to the desert and you go in the brown, and then the darker browns, and then at night in the desert we're wearing the blacks. So my color palette is from beige all the way to black from my recent collections.
Lieutenant Dan McBennett, I've been with Lorain Fire for about 23 years now. To me, it's the best job in the world. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I was born and raised here in Lorain, grew up on the east side, with the Longfellow and the old school Lorain High that your parents might talk about. But anyway, I've been on the fire department since 2000. Like I said, going on 23 years.
Okay, you know that little fire state, like fire station over there?
Yeah.
Okay, there was a house next to it, and it got burnt down. Like, how is that possible? Is it like,
People come from home, go to the fire station, get in the truck, and then go. So that's why, I don't know the specifics, but that's more likely to happen.
Like basically like today people like they just like came in and then they like talked to us about like what they do, and like I'm trying to, you know, be like them, so yeah.
I started out with one single family house in Lorain, and I bought it for $4,000. It took me 2 years of hard work in the evenings, on weekends, to remodel that house and make it into a duplex. And I was laughed at, to be honest with you, because I didn't know what I was doing. But I bought that house for $4,000. I took 2 years of my time on my free time and renovated that house. And I sold it for $18,000. So I made about a $14,000 profit. And I was on my way. I used that $14,000 to buy another house, and then another house. And pretty soon I was buying duplexes. And pretty soon I was buying 6 and 8 plexes. Pretty soon I bought a 24-suiter. And in my peak, I was buying 300 suiters. We had 78 projects in 42 cities in 9 states. I had over 400 employees.